They're some of the prettiest plants we own. Let's talk about variegation. What's up, fellow plant enthusiasts? My name is Dylan and this is Bane's Botanicals. Today we're going to be talking about variegation. Now this is a common question that people have. What is variegation? Well, in short, variegation is a different color on a leaf that is typically green. We often see it as white or yellow, but there can be other colors as well. Now there are four main reasons that variegation occurs, and only two of these actually affect houseplants. One of the ones that doesn't affect houseplants would be a viral mutation. They call it a mosaic. I don't know if it's a mosaic virus or just the pattern it makes, but in nature there are certain viruses that can create patterns on leaves that are actually quite beautiful, but are bad for the plant because plants need chlorophyll to produce energy through photosynthesis. I mean, light hits the leaf and using carbon dioxide and water, photosynthesis, yeah. I need to do a video just on photosynthesis. But anyway, the green part is vital to a plant. You won't really find variegated plants in nature because variegation doesn't do a plant any good. That's why you don't really see that. If they don't have, like this plant, the white parts of this plant are not helping the plant grow. They can't create energy from the white parts. So because of that, most of the variegated plants you find as houseplants are ones that have been selectively grown. Viral. The other one that occurs in nature, I don't know if there's a name for it, but basically it happens when certain other pigments become present when chlorophyll is kind of halted. So a good example of this that occurs every year would be when the leaves change during autumn. When the chlorophyll goes out of the leaves, you're just left with the other chemicals that are in the leaf, and they can produce different colors depending on the chemical. Yellows and oranges are usually caused by carotenoids, and the reds and the purples are usually caused by anthocyanins. You can reference my autumn video if you want to know a little bit more about that. But in certain plants, when the chlorophyll goes away, it can produce other colors because of those other chemicals. Again, to my knowledge, those two things don't really occur in houseplants. The ones that really affect our plants, the main one is basically just a mutation. Sometimes you'll hear it called a chimeral mutation, but the short version is just that certain cells in leaves stop producing chlorophyll. They lose the ability to create chlorophyll, so what you're left with are white and yellow splotches on the leaves. Now sometimes these are patterned and sometimes they're completely random. I mean, again, using this epiprimnum as an example, this is completely random. There is really no pattern to this. It's just all over the place. But something like, for example, no, that's not a good example. Like an aspidistra, the Milky Way aspidistra, those, well, I guess that's kind of random too. I mean, they're all dots and everything, but the dots are kind of all the same pattern, but I don't know, maybe that's a bad example. But yeah, it's really just a mutation, and because these things don't really occur in nature, the greenhouses and the plant growers and the people trying to come up with new plants, they're selectively breeding these plants so that they can have these patterns and everything. This particular epiprimnum is, I believe it's a manula. I think it was sold to me as a pearls and jade, but the way that the patterns are on here, the big splotches of white tell me that this is probably a manula. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the leaf shape also isn't really conducive for a pearls and jade. I feel like the leaves of pearls and jade are typically smaller. Anyway, pearls and jade and manula are actually just kind of variants off of the original variant, Marble Queen. And if we look at some of the bottom leaves of this, you can kind of see that they look a little more Marble Queen-esque. So I also have here 3 different Syngoniums in this pot. I've got the Syngonium albo, which has been producing some beautiful leaves. I have a Syngonium tricolor, which has a lot of pink and also has a little bit more of that kind of white, light green variegation. And then I have a Syngonium 3 Kings, which has a different pattern on it, really more light green than white. And I actually got all of those plants separate, and I was just sort of sick of them being small and being by themselves, so I put them all in one pot. And it's a pretty rare pot of Syngonium. But yeah, the albo was actually from a single cutting that had like 3 or 4 leaves on it. And once it got a few more leaves, I just diced it up, water propagated it, and put it in a little pot to get some roots and grow, and then I put it in that pot. So if you guys like doing propagation, water prop and everything, Syngonium's a good one to do it with. Okay, so yes, mutations. The mutations can be beautiful. I mean, you have things like the Thai constellation, different patterns on, what is back here? Different patterns on things like Dracaena can be caused by mutations. What else, you guys, is back here? I will say, too, that variegation in cacti and euphorbia is pretty uncommon. There are maybe 2 or 3 specific species that you'll see sold on the market for their kind of white variegation or their yellow variegation, but they're pretty uncommon. I'm not sure why they're uncommon, probably because when you think about the body of a cactus or a euphorbia, the succulent part, the thick part, is actually the stem. We don't really think about cactus anatomy that often, but that part is actually the stem. The leaves are the spines. Those are just reduced leaves that are for protection and defense. So because of that, you don't really see, if you think about variegation on tropical plants, the stems usually aren't variegated, so that's probably why. Variegation in stems is just more uncommon, but not impossible. There are some species of outdoor plants that the venation can actually be variegated. The plant cells surrounding the veins of the leaves stop producing chlorophyll, and then you have kind of variegation on the veins. Kind of cool. Well, anyway, the last kind of variegation is going to be called blister variegation, and this is really just air pockets that are trapped under the leaves. And when they're trapped under the leaves like that, they kind of reflect silver. A great example of this is Syndapsis, just a regular Syndapsis, no special pattern or anything. Those dotted patterns on there are blister variegation. The example I've got here, this is an Epiprimnum plissimum. It's also called a silver streak pothos. It has beautiful kind of splashes of silver, and if I'm not mistaken, these are caused by blister variegation, and you can kind of just see that kind of silver reflection. It's very beautiful. Ignore a couple of the brown spots; those just need to come off. I'm not going to grab it because it's over there, but I'm looking at my Hoya obovata. Hoya obovata also has blister variegation, where it just has those beautiful little silver spots on it. And they're really quite attractive, especially when you've got some good light on them. Other examples of blister variegation would be like watermelon peperomia, begonias, and the pilea, the one that is called the aluminum plant. The species name is escaping me, but that's also some blister variegation. And the other thing I was going to say about variegation is that in some species, variegation is very unstable. And basically what that means is the plant, if not taken care of properly, will revert to green. This can occur in a lot of variegated plants, but some more than others. I'm trying to think of a good example of one that reverts easily. White knight philodendron is coming to mind, where if you're just not giving it enough light, or philodendron Birkin, if you're not giving it enough light, it's just going to turn green. And think about it, I mean, the variegation isn't doing the plant any good. So some plants have the ability to just kind of overcome that mutation, I guess. But in a lot of plants, our house plants especially, that have been selectively bred, the variegation is pretty stable. I mean, the variegation on this Epiprimnum is going to stay pretty solid no matter what. Now, if I stop giving it enough light, some of the white spots might start to turn brown. kind of like a white knight. I've seen it happen on Thai constellations as well. If they've got like big splotches of white, if you're not giving them enough light, it's almost like the plant starts to just get rid of the problem, basically. Because variegation technically is a problem, but we harvest it because it's gorgeous and it makes our leaves pop out. You know, when you have a collection of plants, like looking at my plants behind me, I mean, you can see the variegated ones usually more than the green ones. So, all right, I think that is all I had. Actually, one more interesting note. I just read tonight that a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma that was variegated sold on auction in 2020 for like $5,300, and that one the next year sold for like $19,000. I don't know if that's true because, again, I just read it. But I mean, I've got a Rhaphidophora. I don't know if you can see it. It's right back there. They also call it the mini monstera. That is the right one, right? Yeah, tetrasperma is the mini monstera. So I don't know. My guess would be that the variegation in something like that would be very unstable. Kind of like Ficus lyrata. Ficus lyrata does have a variegated form, but you don't really see that in stores because I think it reverts so hard. Like, so hard? It reverts so often. But yeah, but then you think about Ficus elastica, and you think about the Taniki and the Ruby and the Shiveriana. Like, all of those variegations are really stable, so that's good. Anyway, I've rambled enough about this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting me and liking and subscribing. And I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about this. Let me know if you guys have some really cool variegated plants, and maybe drop in a comment if I forgot some of the important ones. So yes, thank you guys so much, and until the next video, I will see you very soon. Thank you.